Hello, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are not able to show you guys our intro because StreamYard is deciding to be glitchy. Hello, Nora. Oh, no, Nora, this is going to be fire. Well, it is going to be fire, Nora. And right about now, we want to fire all kinds of Congress people that were literally, as everyone's going to be able to see, very instrumental in legitimizing the child trafficking cult that we were raised in. So this is second part of our reaction to yesterday's video, you guys, where we broke down the fake pitch of John Travolta, actor John Travolta, that was used as a mouthpiece to sanitize what Scientology was doing behind the scenes. So today we did a little bit more research as to which people in Congress were helping this effort. And shout out to Jessica Palmadesa, who has put together a petition. And I encourage you guys to go and sign it and check it out. I'll have to put it on the community tab later on, but it's a different day for sure. So the document I'm talking about, and I have linked it in the description down below, is called Scientology Celebrity Lobbyists, and it's by Professor Stephen Kent. So definitely check it out, you guys, because it's extremely explicit and extensive, and it documented this impropriety that did play out on the public record for everyone to see. So the document Scientology Celebrities Lobbyists provides a chilling expose of the disturbing relationship between Scientology and Hollywood celebrities, revealing a sinister alliance built on manipulation, exploitation, and moral bankruptcy. Delving deep into the murky waters of this unholy alliance, the document lays bare the shocking reality of Scientology's insidious tactics and the complicity of its celebrity enablers in perpetuating a cycle of abuse and exploitation. Although completely omitted is the child trafficking of underage kids that was taking place inside Scientology hotels and commercial buildings. At the heart of Scientology's nefarious agenda lies the unequivocal endorsement of A-list celebrities like Tom Cruise, John Travolta, and at the time, Kirstie Alley, as influential mouthpieces for its indefensible recruitment practices of minors to be used inside Scientology hotels and commercial buildings. These celebrities, heralded as paragons of success and virtue, willingly lend their fame and credibility to Scientology, acting as willing pawns in its quest for dominance, control, all to keep expanding their child trafficking capabilities. Through their privileged access to government officials, lawmakers, media outlets, Scientology celebrities lobbyists wield disproportionate influence in shaping policies, legislation, and public opinion to serve the organization's highly illegal, corrupt interests. They brazenly manipulate the levers of power using their star power to silence dissent and shield Scientology from scrutiny, all while turning a blind eye to the heinous crimes being perpetrated in its name. Yet amidst the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, a dark underbelly of child trafficking, exploitation, and abuse festers within Scientology's clandestine network of facilities and compounds. Shockingly, the document reveals the glaring absence in the discourse surrounding Scientology celebrities lobbyists, the deliberate omission of any discussion of the egregious violations of children's rights occurring within the corrupt, child abuse-ridden organization. While John Travolta cries foul over his alleged discrimination in the wake of a German boycott over one of his movies, literal innocent children continue to suffer unspeakable horrors at the hands of Scientology, their plight overshadowed by Travolta's celebrities spotlight. It is a travesty of justice that the suffering of vulnerable minors is brushed aside, while Scientology celebrity enablers bask in the glow of fame and fortune and the full attention of the United States Congress, no less. Furthermore, the document highlights the ethical bankruptcy of Scientology celebrity lobbyists who willingly trade their integrity and morality for fleeting fame and fortune. Their complicity in Scientology's nefarious agenda, coupled with their deafening silence on issues of systemic abuse and exploitation of kids inside the Sea organization, renders them accomplices in perpetuating the cycle of suffering and victimization, still alive and well as of this year, 2024. In the face of such egregious moral bankruptcy and systemic exploitation, it is incumbent upon us to shine a relentless spotlight on the nefarious machinations of Scientology's celebrity lobbyists. By exposing their collusion, complicity, and culpability in perpetuating children's rights, abuses, and blatant crimes, we continue to dismantle the facade of impunity that has been allowed to thrive unchecked in the name of Scientology for far too long. It is time to hold Scientology and its celebrity enablers accountable for their crimes against children and demand justice for the countless innocent victims whose voices have been silenced and whose lives have been shattered through no fault of their own. So this is the second part of John Travolta speaking to the US Congress, you guys. So let's take a look and discuss. Hello, Laura FM. Good to see you. Hi, Kenya. Hi, Bunny. Hello, Jessica. Thank you all for joining us. Let's see what in the hell is going on in this hearing today.
Your attention. Well, thank you very much, John, and thank you for taking your time, because this is not a matter of Scientologists and the deprivation of their rights. It goes well beyond, as you have stated. We're talking about individual belief that people can hold and cherish and should be allowed to without there being oppression. And I am shocked by this publication, as you have pointed out, that calls for the extermination, basically, of people who may have different views and beliefs, not just Scientologists. That is shocking.
So right away, you guys, I mean, again, here's a US congressman doing the bidding of John Travolta and his buddies. And they're all bringing up all these moral outrage over what exactly? The discrimination of people applying the words of a convicted felon. The words that when those exact policies get enacted on underage kids end up in indefensible power dynamics between adults and children that are disgusting and abominable. And even this US congressman that is really wanting to talk about democracy. Imagine democracy. It's so appalling that democracy is not working, because Germany was smelling the rat of the extremist rhetoric, the policies of an extremist rang like a rat to the Germans who already went through their version of this as they propped up an extremist themselves, as if Adolf Hitler wasn't an extremist himself. So all of these people that blab and blab and blab is all a bunch of PR. And it would be very interesting to understand what this man here, US Congressman Mr. D'Amato, got from lobbyists to push forward this agenda as the US government endorses child trafficking at an industrial size scale. I was locked up in 1997 with a self-admitted PDF file while all of these people were having these conversations. So while John Travolta is lobbying Congress, I'm stuck with a PDF file in Florida in Debbie Cook's disgusting hotel. So let's just make sure that the context is not lost here.
And indeed, the great economic, the great power that the German government has is well known and indeed looked up to. There is a very real question as to the totalitarian states that still exist, or states that have little in the way of democracy.
Imagine this man making a point about totalitarian states. What do you think Scientology is, sir? Inside of those hotels and commercial buildings is a full-blown totalitarian state that children are ensnared in. Why are children ensnared in totalitarian hotels that the US Congress props up as so-called beacons of spirituality? In what world can these people just speak from every single side of their mouth? You guys, please. In what world are they condemning totalitarian states, but if children sign themselves up to be part of a totalitarian hotel, then it's not called that. Then it's called something else, right?
If indeed they look and see what is taking place in a powerful, respected democracy and what is to prevent them, and aren't they really being encouraged when it befits their own needs for political purposes to become involved in crushing or stamping out or using, holding up those who are different? Very easy.
Isn't that great, you guys? Oh, really? Is it really that the German government was discriminating because they were not the same people? Did you read what the convicted felon wrote, good sir, on his policies? Are you familiar with the policies of convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard? Yes or no, US government? And don't give us this BS that you cannot interpret a single thing that's been written by an American-bred God. Check with your IRS, your child trafficking endorsement unit of the year in America, the IRS, who gives tax incentives and breaks to self-admitted child abusers. So by all means, check how that works, and then really check if the German people were pressed because people were different and they were really coming after them as the big boogeyman that you're purporting them to be, while you are running a country, a respected democracy, as if this United States doesn't prop itself up as like, we're the biggest and the best country in the whole wide world, and the democracy is so amazing in this country. Well, is it?
And our good friend and colleague, Congressman Salmon from Arizona, understands as well, as he refers to his forefathers who were persecuted, who were killed, who were driven from the land because they were different.
Imagine this Arizona senator who we can only guess was a Jewish person. Imagine Scientology purporting that they're just like the Jews, that they're being prosecuted for their beliefs that are different. Imagine that Scientology's beliefs were closer to Hitler than anyone else. Imagine that L. Ron Hubbard told all his proteges, "You are homo nobis. You're so much better than everyone else. Everyone else is a disgusting person. Everyone else is an idiot. Everyone else doesn't want to get anywhere better. Bring me your children to these hotels, and we're going to teach you how we're going to save our world." So imagine that the Jewish religion has nothing to do with what L. Ron Hubbard wrote. But this is the false equivalent that we always get ad nauseum. The religious text of L. Ron Hubbard. In what world is a convicted felon a religious person? In what world does a person get to be fully convicted for felonies of fraud? And then all of a sudden, whatever he wrote can circumvent all laws in the book. The laws in this country are unenforceable AF. Child trafficking is not called child trafficking if you have $1 billion in the bank. This US Congress will let you call it whatever in the hell you want. Just show us the $1 billion. Okay, you got the $1 billion? Great. Then you know what? Oh, you're just, being prosecuted unjustly.
And it's easy to galvanize huge masses against those who are perceptively different.
Yes, they're different. They're very, very different. They're different in that they literally pitched to all parents that brought kids to that hotel to child traffic your own kid, and you're really going to save a world. That's why they're being denounced. That's what they're being told. Disgusting. No. That's why it's taken till the year 2024 for some of us to have a shred of voice denouncing these atrocities on kids who cannot fend for their literal selves, those that are stuck inside as we speak, you guys, because let's not keep telling everyone the same thing, since we seem to be very misunderstood and nobody really gets it. What in the hell are we talking about? We're talking about that exact point, that children are at risk as we speak today, that all whistleblowing to do with the Scientology problem has been an altered importance campaign to keep the eyeballs off of the children issue. That's what Scientology doesn't want anyone to know about. Like, let's talk about differences of faith and let's keep the conversation there, because there's where they win with their whitewashing and their purporting to be like, oh, we're being very discriminated, you guys. You know what? If you want to abuse a whole bunch of adults, if you want to become a slave, if you want to consent to be trampled on, to be degraded, to be humiliated, to be financially ruined as an adult, no one can come and save you from that if you're making that consensual choice. But yet again, for the 10th billion time, for the people in the back that haven't put it in their notes, the children, the underage children being made to sign contracts didn't have the faculty to be making those type of decisions and life choices for themselves. And they do need advocates, because as of the year 2024, we have very little advocacy going on for this issue. Everybody tries to pretend that it's like all these points. Where's Shelley? How do we help Shelley get out of her? What? Shelley has been there for how many decades? Shelley has been trafficking kids for how many decades? Yes, Shelley herself was a 12-year-old child trafficked by L. Ron Hubbard. Nothing erases that context, but then nothing erases the fact that she's a full-grown ass woman today, making the choice to be ensnared in hotels where child trafficking runs rampant, and she would know. She would know. Shelley knows every last child that was RPF'd, you guys, that was put in that disgusting program full of self-admitted PDF files. Shelley was the point person that approved children to so-called graduate from their disgusting prison program that they were running for kids. But does John Travolta bring it up in his little Congress hearing anywhere? Oh no, he only talks about, I was boycotted from my film by Germany. My God.
Because again, they practice a different faith, are of a different color, wear a different garb.
Practice a different faith. We're demanding that children not be enslaved. Good sir. It's not in your constitution. Slavery is abolished. So why in the hell are children being put on slave contracts? So-called billion-year contracts. If that was the faith of all the grown-ass people that wanted to be part of this culture inside of those hotels, no one can come and save them. But why were us as underage kids targeted to be pawns in this scheme? Why did that happen? Because that's what's being questioned. We don't give a shred of a literal F what the adults want to do for themselves. We don't owe them babysitting. We don't owe them to come to the rescue of something that they are completely gung-ho overdoing. The people that go to these hotels, you guys, will not get tired of telling you how amazing they love the type of abuse they get inside of those hotels. So why are adults trying to be saved ad nauseum over and over and over? Because that's what the corporate mainstream media has been pushing for decades. Oh my God, you guys, all of these adults that got really beat up by David Miscavige. Let's really inundate your bandwidth with you thinking about adults that sign up to be abused, humiliated, trampled on, degraded, false imprisoned, any disgusting thing you can think of. These adults are loving it in there. Where are these adults advocating for the children who cannot be made part of that disgusting deal? That's really what's being questioned right now.
It's just, and this is important in this day and age. And I must tell you, notwithstanding my work on the commission and then Congressman Hoyer, who's been here before me, that I was not aware of those things that you and the Reverend and Mr. Selfhofer and others and the other panels have testified in terms of the manner in which oppression is taking place. And indeed, where there is a group or an individual who threatens by way of his or her acts or plans to harm another person, obviously the state should take action, and you endorse that. But to single out people because of a religious belief or conviction is absolutely inappropriate.
And yes, you guys, most religions have books that have theology written in the books that talk about the rivers, that talk about the sea, that talk about the creation, that talk about all these things. Religious texts are based in theology. In Scientology, there was no theology. In Scientology, there was technology. Step 1, lock up the person. Step 2, ask him disgusting, depraved question. Step 3, video record it all. Step 4, send it to all the executives so that they all watch the depravity. So if any other religion has that level of policies. Policies is what they were called. This is a policy. It wasn't a religious scripture. It was no text. It was nothing to interpretation. The policy says lock up a person against their will. You would get flunked. You would get in trouble. You would get disciplined for letting a person that was stuck in one of these interrogations flee the interrogation. Imagine that as children, we were being literally punished for not holding someone against their will. In what world does that make sense? In what world are all Scientology parents full knowing what these policies are? They're not. This is not Nickelodeon, you guys. This is not like, oh, I dropped off my kids there and I was outside the commercial building and I had no idea how it would go. Scientology parents do not have that level of plausible deniabilities. Scientology parents studied the policies, drilled the policies, normalized the policies for all of them, and then all of a sudden, it was an everything goes. Everything goes. Make all the children fair game. Tell all adults that children inside of these hotels are adults. Why are children being called adults? In what world is calling a child a religious belief? Because that's how it was pitched inside of those hotels. Oh, children are just adults. That's our religious belief that convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard told us it was. So just imagine the amount of felonies normalized at an industrial size scale because all the degenerates inside of said hotel went with the pitch that the convicted felon sent to them, which was, oh yeah, they're all ageless spirits. So just treat them as if they're just any old adult.
Totally inappropriate. And we will pursue this matter. Let me call Mr. Hayes, Isaac.
So that was the first part, you guys. And now they're about to call Isaac Hayes, another Scientology mouthpiece, you know, and you go, why is Isaac Hayes, like a man that should not be literally endorsing slavery at an industrial size scale? Why is that just being allowed? You see what I'm saying? Like, why are all of these mouthpieces being used? So here's the second part where you will see this man, this US congressman, doing the bidding of Scientology. He's already been converted. He's already been lobbied. He's already literally next to John Travolta himself there. I mean, you guys can see it for your literal selves. Let's make this literally John Travolta next to him, Isaac Hayes next to him. These two grown adults that loved being turned into slaves. They found it very religious to be denigrated. They found it very religious to be tortured. They found it very religious to have no shred of privacy. They found it very religious to literally tell them all their criminal activity that they had ever done this lifetime and so-called other lifetimes. Do you think we give a single F that these men were paying to be tortured, paying top dollar, $500 and up to go get interrogated by minors inside of the hotel, minors that Debbie Cook was providing to them, minors that Mary Bogating Shaw, president of the Clearwater Child Trafficking Hotel, was providing to Isaac Hayes, was providing to John Travolta, was providing to Tom Cruise, was providing to Kirstie Alley, was providing to all the Hollywood so-called followers of this faith, a faith that includes telling kids that they are adults. So by all means, where is the religious persecution? I mean, that is what Scientology was so afraid of, you guys. They didn't want the intelligence of the US government to pry open their scam and their scheme. And they were so pressed about it that they ran to the US Congress, paying them literally, and this is what you can find in the PDF file that I literally put on the description, but just to bring it up here real quick so we can tell you a number of how much money has gone into influencing this government. It says here they paid upwards of $750,000 in lobbying fees. So just so it's clear that it wasn't just like out of the goodness of this disgusting senator that sits there next to the two Hollywood celebrities that were all about child trafficking kids at an industrial size scale. And, you know, they're just like looking real cool there. And, oh, yeah, let's really talk about minorities getting prosecuted. Oh, my God, it's so bad.
I think most people are today more and more, particularly those who are blessed with democracy, and the Germans have democracy, are blessed with the intellect to understand the preciousness of the individual's rights.
I mean, again, false pitch. They're blessed with a democracy. Well, if they were blessed with a democracy, then why are you, the US, telling that democracy how to act and how to govern? Because you guys meddled in a very big way so that your child trafficking operation would not get disrupted. US Congress enabling for-profit child traffickers.
And sometimes it has to be brought forward to them that these things are not being carried out. And so that's our first step. We're not going to consider anything other than bringing this forward in the manner in which we present it logically.
You see John going like this, yes, yes, yes. So they are having their claws all the way up the US Congress. This wasn't a joke. This was no halfway done up. This was using Scientology coffers of money and so-called celebrities to literally derail criminal investigations that were warranted, given that children have been systemically put at risk, while everybody has conversations about whether you can have that faith and you can have that other faith. Repeat, if you're a grown-ass adult, go have whatever literal faith you want to have. No one cares what in the hell you agree is a spiritual experience for you. But you know what? Children are not going to be just lumped in that same bucket, because that is exactly what these degenerates wanted. Children and adults are all the same, and that is how they made all children literal fair game.
Factually, and say, what can we do to change this? All right?
But you have not been talking to members of the German government. You have been criticizing them, but you have
not heard me say that. If you are a counselor or an advocate for that position, then you can be, but that is not an accurate description of what you've heard me or this commission say. That is not. And you are putting your own spin and your own interpretation so you can try to get your own ratings up. Thank you.
Isn't that great, you guys? You're putting your own spin and your own interpretation so you can get your ratings up. Isn't that great, you guys? That is all it takes for this corrupt politician standing up in defense of industrial size child traffickers and enablers that have paid these hotels millions of dollars themselves to make sure they were operating in full capacity. But as this German reporter starts asking this US congressman some questions, he literally starts projecting how, oh, you're just trying to get your ratings up. And I didn't say that. And everything you're saying is spin. Because again, he's criticizing the German government, not on the merits. He's criticizing the German government on his bullshit pitch that him and his little buddy John Travolta and his little buddy Isaac Hayes and whoever else Scientology send to carry out this unthinkable, disgusting, false pitch given to the US Congress that apparently was very, very effective since Germany did back down. And children are still being recruited. There were German children inside of our hotel, you guys. The PDF file that I was made to be with by Debbie Cook and Marty Rathbun was a German citizen. So Germany and the US couldn't be up to their neck and ears in incompetence and flagrant violations of the laws that they have in a book as a bunch of platitudes because they don't get enforced. Those laws, if you have $1 billion in the bank, those laws will be changed. And then all of a sudden, whatever child trafficking you're conducting will be called something else by disgusting people like this man that you see here on the screen.
Could you reiterate to the German audience? To the German
I mean, you are doing this on behalf. You represent what?
the German TV.
Okay, so you're trying to create something that is not here.
No, we want to.
You represent the German TV, so you want to represent something that is not here. What was not there, and that was a flunk for the U.S. literal agencies that were trying to get this, is they weren't asking the right questions. They were missing the withhold of Scientology. They were missing the withhold of John Travolta. They were missing the withhold of Isaac Hayes. They were missing the withhold of Hollywood. Hollywood and Scientology adulticized children. Hollywood and Scientology infantilize adults that want to live out their infantile, literal fantasies. Like, oh, I want to just be an idiot infantile. Let me just grab a hold of all these kids and live out my fantasy. Call it a religious experience. Call it a Nickelodeon show. Call it whatever in the hell you want. Why does it always involve putting kids in role plays where they cannot consent to be used as those type of pawns? Why does it always include put children in positions where they're having to make $100,000 plus a week for where they're being child trafficked? So that's a question for both Hollywood and Scientology.
I told you, I've answered you, and I said,
Maybe I misunderstood.
I think you have.
But then you can tell it right.
Yeah. Well, I think that has nothing to do with.
Why is it different?
None of it has nothing to do with this hearing. I'm just being brought up.
Anything that you bring today,
Well, I'm not going to bring that in play, because that's the kind of thing this gentleman over here is trying to say. No, I have passion. You want to sit down, get your allies, see if we can't bring it up.
So there you have it, guys. That's the U.S. congressman that was doing the bidding of Scientology. With the help of John Travolta, that's all it took. So, hello, Kenya, disgusting. Right about now, I think that's, in a nutshell, it's just disgusting, you guys. So, in a nutshell, thank God that we are having different protests coming up, different generations standing up for what they're seeing is very wrong, like Jessica Palmadesa's doing. So definitely check out that petition that she put. So, oh no, Nora, Germany was calling out Scientology since they've been known about cults. So that's right, Nora. And we were told, you guys, ad nauseum, Germany is such a horrible country. In Germany, we're being prosecuted. In Germany, they're so bad to people. The Germans are like the Nazis. The Germans, that's all they would talk about inside of the hotels. Like, we really gonna work on not being discriminated, you guys, because we're being so horrifically discriminated. It's like Congress has amnesia as to why America was founded, to escape totalitarianism and control by a dictator oligarchy. I mean, thank you, Nora, for literally saying exactly what needs to be said in regards to this. In the 90s, it was still cool to think America was better than everyone and Germany was bad. And that has not aged well. That is literally not aged well. We're going to compare Scientology to the genocide of Jews in Germany. Sir, Scientology is child trafficking kids. And then doing exactly what Nora says right here. As well, as if we don't have Lisa McPherson to literally make our point. So it's not just like hyperbole. Trying to compare themselves to the Jews of Europe. A search said this cult is almost identical to the Superman ideas that Hitler used. And that's what's getting called out. Thank you, philosophy. Exactly. It's like the Scientologists are the ones that know. And everyone else is disgusting, stupid, not even getting anywhere, and all of these things that are just like, it's so unacceptable, you guys. Thank you, Dawn. Kids can't consent. Kids cannot consent. Let's keep putting that so that the people all the way in the back that are making no notes start putting those notes. Literally start putting it in their notes and start really coming up with a defense with why are these commercial buildings being allowed to put kids inside said commercial buildings, torture them, abuse them, and call it Nickelodeon, and call it Scientology, and call it troubled teen industry. It's like, doesn't matter what you're calling it. If kids get locked up in a commercial building, whether it's called Nickelodeon, whether it's called Scientology, whether it's called troubled teen industry building, if those kids are ending up there with adults giving themselves the power to abuse said kids, the power to commit felonies, the power to act with impunity, the power to video record their disgusting stuff, and then all to them pretend like, oh, none of us knew. Like everybody, oh, we all did our best. We were just really trying to do our best. Oh, it was back in the 90s when this was going on. That's not true. That's going on right now as we speak. So Scientology is still a thing. Hollywood's still using child actors. Hollywood is still like, as if the literal Dan Schneider apology, let's call it what it was a faux apology, as if he didn't say that the solution to everything was to really ask if kids really wanted to be there. Imagine that, you guys. Imagine these sickos are selling underage kids fame, which again, every child, what child's going to be like, no, I don't want to be famous. I don't care about that. I don't want my friends to think I'm cool. So, I pass on that. All these kids wanted to be there, I'm sure, when they were there, until the honeymoon stage was over, until they had to work 12-hour days, or else they were in trouble. Dan Schneider would have a fit Debbie Cook would have a fit. What's the difference between Debbie Cook and Dan Schneider? None. They were both torturing kids with impunity. They've been allowed to do this under this banner of, oh, we're just producing a lot of art here and using kids and exploit kids and commoditize childhoods, exploit those childhoods. Because going back to the same point, either Debbie Cook or Dan Schneider were getting off on ripping apart childhoods under the guise that they really wanted to help children, under the guise that, oh, we really are utilizing children in the best of ways. So yes, kids cannot consent, period. Thank you for that period, Kenya. Hi everyone, sending love to all. Thank you so much, Psych Sauce. That's how we know they are controlled opposition. Definitely, you guys. I mean, this is a full-blown example of the US government being infiltrated by Hollywood celebrities, being infiltrated by lobbyists, being infiltrated by money, and all of a sudden it's not called child trafficking. All of a sudden it's called something else that they all agree behind closed doors what in the hell they're gonna call it. But you know what? The kids that had to go through that experience are not okay with it getting whitewashed so that these people can cash checks for themselves. Learn something new every day. You need to go to Congress. Thank you. Learn something new every day. We definitely will when the time is right, you guys. They're definitely going to be told to stop playing dumb. What year was this? I believe this was 1997. Oh my God, Isaac Hayes, the disappointment of our Black community for real. Shame on him. Yes, Kenya. And again, you know, Isaac Hayes has been used as a pawn, just like John Travolta, to influence and to purport that these men, artists, highly regarded, very charismatic, very nice. Everybody thinks they're great. Everybody thinks they're wonderful. But how wonderful were they if they were endorsing trafficking kids at an industrial size scale? That's really what's being questioned right now. How wonderful were the people that were all about enslaving kids and pretending that the kids were going to like it too, right? Trying to play the victims. That's exactly what they do, you guys. That's all they're good at. Like, oh, we're the victims. We're the ones that are being persecuted. We're the ones that are being discriminated. Shambad, not all organized religions have bad people running them, and bad people can flourish under the guise of a doctrine using their followers and convictions and faith against them. Sick. That's right, Shambad. And I'm glad you're making that point, because that's the point that we're making in Scientology, you guys. And that's the point that we're saying is such a false equivalent to discuss Scientology in any type of religious setting. It simply is not a setting of religious thing, because the doctrine of any other religion cannot be said that is literally pitching people committing criminal acts. That's the big difference between Scientology and another religion. The other religion can be up to interpretation. If the people that are running that religion are well-hearted, then they're not going to be using that to oppress the people. In Scientology, there's only one person that set the rules of engagement, and his name is L. Ron Hubbard, and he's a convicted felon that was on the run, child trafficking David Miscavige, Shelley Miscavige, and all kinds of other minors, Janice Gilliam, Biddy Miscavige, all these proteges that he trained as kids, that instead of cutting the cord with that child trafficker, went on to become his willing pawns and then trafficking kids at an industrial size scale themselves. So Literally ridiculous. Prime Marina, it's just ridiculous. Lying AF about Germany when the COS is the real evil. That's what we're talking about here, you guys. It's all lying and projection, and don't look at us, look over there. It was rehearsed PR. I mean, that is exactly what this is giving you guys. This whole entire public thing was rehearsed PR. You see how they treated the German press. Oh, you're the enemy. You just want to get ratings. I mean, it's almost like this senator got a briefing from Osa Wosa, who told them, oh, yeah, the press is the enemy and they always just want to get clicks. And yes, the press is very corrupt themselves, as we have pointed out plenty times. But these guys only always just project when they get a shred of pushback. People that should be caring literally don't give an F. It's infuriating. Exactly. Exactly, you guys. They never helped any kids inside the cadet orgs. What a horror show. That's exactly right, Kay. I mean, there were so many underage kids in that cadet org, you guys, that, you know, our heart still bleeds for their childhoods being completely shredded to pieces with, unfortunately, the full endorsement of their parents. And that's what made it so confusing for us as children, not knowing what in the hell was going on. It's not natural for a child to think my parent is putting me in harm's way on purpose. Our parents were psychopathic enough to buy the pitch from the convicted felon, to act out said pitch from that convicted felon, and then tell us that they wanted to help us. Oh, we're helping you. We're giving you this special opportunity to use this technology. You're so lucky to not be like any other child in the world, because the tortures that they were subjecting us to as underage kids who could not consent was supposedly how they were giving us, you know, something special. Something special is how it was being pitched. Like, you're so special to get locked up against your will. You're so special. You're going to love it. We love it. Don't you hear us having so many wins? And all we were capable of doing as children at the time, you guys, was to parrot out whatever the other adults were saying. Literally, I can go on a monologue of a win, a Scientology win. Oh, I just completed grade 0 and I realized that my communication is so amazing because all the flows that were stuck before are no longer stuck, and I can communicate at will with anybody that I want. And I really want to thank L. Ron Hubbard, because without L. Ron Hubbard's technology, I would have never been able to realize how to talk to so many people in such an independent way. Yay. You see how easy it is for us as kids that had to learn those patterns, that had to understand that that's what the adults were saying, that we had to say, otherwise we were not going to be allowed to leave the hotel room. If we didn't tell them that we loved the torture that they just gave us, guess what? You don't leave the room. You don't leave the room. If you're not smiling ear to ear after being locked up against your will for 5 hours, you'll be sent back to the room after you flunk your exam, and then you have to go back to get more interrogated. So over and over and over again, we were bondaged, we were strapped, we were told to role play these disgusting things with adults. Unthinkable power dynamic imbalance playing out with kids and adults. Content creation is what these people were doing. Every audit was recorded. Every audit is critiqued. with bunches of adults going through the videos, checking and writing down, oh, you should have checked this other question. You should have checked more felonies. You should have followed up on a dirty needle of a child. That child still has a dirty needle. That child still needs to be brought back for more interrogation. There's something really wrong with that child. And who was making those adjudications? Dumbasses that completed a 2-week course inside of a hotel. Dumbasses like Debbie Cook. Dumbasses like Richard Reese, the literal roommate of Bill Clinton, and you'll find it in the document down below. President Bill Clinton said he had a roommate that he really liked that was a Scientologist. His name is Richard Reese, the senior CS FSO of Debbie Cook, the man who oversaw it all, the man who sat there watching kids get tortured and grading the torture. You got a very well done on torturing this kid. You did everything according to L. Ron Hubbard. Wow, amazing. Oh, let me correct your torture, because you know what? You let the kid leave an hour into the torture, and then the kid wasn't happy. So then he didn't pass his exam. So get back in there, interrogate him more, abuse him more until the kid decides that whatever abuse you're doing is amazing. So that's the context that always gets left out by the people who don't want to remember their time in there as content creators of disgusting films that I would dare any of them to defend with a straight face today in this year 2024. Now that they can get out of their victim complex, which is all we ever get out of Scientology adults and parents. All they want to sell now is their victim complex story. And guess what? The corporate mainstream media loves adult victim complex stories. The corporate media has made a ton of money selling every last shred of adult who wants to talk about how they used to really want to be all about these hotels until they got bad for them, and then they left, and then they did self-reflection where they could only see where they were being abused as adults, and they don't want to call themselves out in any real manner, repudiating what was destructive about that time that should be getting literally red flagged so that we know what needs to stop. But it's always the same thing. It's always, how can I sanitize my image real quick? Thank you, Shambhat. Thank you, Marina. William Nelson, Milton Casales, who owned the Beverly Hills Playhouse, got celebs into Scientology. Thank you, William Nelson. And that's exactly right, you guys, because again, Scientology is Hollywood. Scientology is another Nickelodeon. Scientology is another big content creation house. That's what they do, as if they don't have, what is it on Sunset Boulevard? A whole media production. What type of films were they making? The films that were normalizing these disgusting audits be done at an industrial scale. And then everybody bought the pitch because apparently they use really good people to make movies. Scientologists are obsessed with movies. Tom Cruise is their movie poster child inside of the hotels. John Travolta is who we were told to idolize when we were stuck in that hotel. Oh, you're so lucky to be part of this hotel because, you know, John Travolta's about to come over here. And then I had to deal with John Travolta's disgusting personal trainer that we will get into another day what in the hell happened there, but it's just all gross. How is law enforcement so corrupt, not willing to try and get the kids out of this? Very good, Naomi. Let's keep asking the FBI that same question. Laura, I can't believe I never saw any of this video footage. WTF. Yeah. We never saw it. I mean, I literally just saw it uploaded by German news. And my previous reacting video had a lot more of what John Travolta was saying. So if you didn't catch the prior one, that's where John Travolta does most of the talking. But going back to the point of, in what world are all of these politicians fully in the pocket of these corrupt child traffickers? Because this is giving Jeffrey and Ghislaine Epstein Maxwell on steroids. Shambot, humans deserve to be loved and encouraged to grow and be who they are, not to be forced into a tiny box of rules and fear. Everyone deserves possibility and freedom. Very well said, Shambot. And also what I would add to that is, in Scientology, they want you to be a square. Everyone that's there has literally agreed that going with the square pitch is who they are, is what they love, and it's amazing, and they're really going to save our world. Well, plenty of us were circles. And it doesn't matter how many ways you try to make a circle a square, it's never going to be that. So here we are, the ones that did rebel, the ones that did say, no, you're not going to put me in your shitty, disgusting, full of fear, tiny box of BS rules that are against my best interest, that should have never been exposed to as a child. Because exactly what you're talking about here, it is in the human nature to want to love and encourage the growth of a child. You see this example in Mother Nature all the time. What animal out there cannibalizes their own kids? You guys, just so you guys can get an idea of how far off this whole entire thing has gone. What animal cannibalizes their children? As the Scientology parents have been allowed to cannibalize their own children, have been allowed to tokenize them, have been allowed to put them in harm's way. And we already saw that it's not a thing that you put children in bondage and in harm's way and that there's no repercussions. Because thanks to Ruby Frankie, we know that that's not true. The only problem is that Ruby Frankie's 12-year-old had to save himself. So if the 12-year-old doesn't literally crawl out of a hotel in handcuffs, then no one's going to do anything. And that's what is outrageous, to be honest. Naomi, so if kids are taking their clothes off to be comfortable, how is that not making a child essay materials? They're sharing it and watching it, asking gross questions. I mean, 100%, Naomi. I mean, you see this all the time, you guys, in the so-called law enforcement child trafficking things that they put in. You know, they create these fake social media profiles. They create these children that are speaking to these PDF files, right? Meanwhile, it's all not true. Meanwhile, it all didn't happen, but the PDF file shows up to abuse the kid. And what does it get used? The fact that they even had those conversations with a child is already illegal. It didn't even happen, but they're still seeing consequences, those people that are showing up with the intent to do that. Imagine in Scientology, these PDF files have no repercussions because they can have these conversations in the comfort of these enclosed hotel rooms. And yes, this US Congress is going to be like, oh, that's a child having a religious experience for themselves. So it is absolutely conducting disgusting thing. And they're sharing it all between themselves. Like, don't think that Scientology audits are so confidential. There's a deputy senior CS that can see it. There's a senior CS. There's a CS. And when I say CS, this means case supervisor. So they're checking the case. Everything is supervised. Everything is watched. Everything is endorsed. So again, for the Scientology parents that really want to go with the pitch, we had no idea you had too much of an idea. So it sucks to be y'all because we know how much you knew and it doesn't make a shred of sense. Aren't you supposed to believe they aren't being recorded as the one being audited? Naomi, no, we didn't know when you were going to be recorded or not because the cameras were hidden on the ceiling. There were just these two glass boxes that were covering the camera. And it's not like the red dot came up to really say, oh, they're going to record this now. So they wouldn't even tell us. You didn't even know. You weren't allowed to ask questions. Again, when they're telling you you're going to get a session, you're the PC. You're not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to say no. You're not allowed to say stop. You're not allowed anything. So they literally did all of this really bad. Hell nah. Exactly, Marina. It was truly eye-opening to find out Epstein's lawyer was literally in court attacking streets and the literally every conspiracy theory is true. I mean, open source advocate, seriously, like in what world would we see Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney representing Francois? I mean, as if Francois couldn't have made our point any more, literally. If Francois cannot find a single attorney to represent her, and she's got to go to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney, well, it really shows you the type of child trafficking cover-ups that they're all about doing. It is the opposite of what a parent's natural instincts are. I mean, that is what we're calling all Scientology parents out on, you guys. It's the Scientology parents. Children wouldn't be ensnared in the Scientology operation had they not been brought there by their parents. If parents made this adults-only hotel club, then what type of point would we be having to make today? Literally. Yara Sona, the more I hear about the abuse, the more mad I get at Mike Rinder not stepping up and confessing what was going on under the guise of religion. Take responsibility, Mike Rinder. Stop acting like a martyr. So take the note, Mike Rinder, because you are getting called out for pitching yourself as a martyr. You were 18 years old, and then you went and met L. Ron Hubbard. And then you decided L. Ron Hubbard was a great man. And then you decided to be his pro bono publicist. And then you decided to prop up his legacy after he was already 6 feet underground, Mike Rinder. So before you really come and tell us how you had no clue about anything and osa wosa, and I really want to blow a whistle. It's called accountability, and we know what it sounds like since you did give us a front row seat in front of that disgusting hotel, Mike Rinder. So we know exactly what you're hiding. We know exactly what you're sanitizing. We know exactly what type of ops were being played on the government here, as if you were not involved in this literal op itself, Mike Rinder. This was the height of your OSA career back in 97. So yes, thank you, Kiara Zona, for pointing that out. Mike Rinder, you couldn't be more up to your neck and ears in complicity. Stop pretending that David Miscavige is the one with the problem. You are the one with the problem. You are the one that has been how many decades out of Scientology? You're the one that refuses to go to therapy. Why? Because they're going to be mandated reporters, and by the time that you actually get honest with your therapist and start telling her all the child trafficking felonies you committed with a full straight face, they are going to report you, Mike Rinder. So I guess, if they report you, the FBI is going to go, oh, don't worry. We already have all his crimes here. He already confessed everything because you purport to have gone to the FBI and told them everything there was to know. So imagine you've told them everything there was to know, and Nothing has changed. Not a single guardrail has been erected. So what? So children are not getting audited. So children are not getting ethics interviewed, and children aren't being subjected to grooming courses. So all of this disgusting stuff can be normalized at an industrial size scale. So a lot of questions come up for you, literally. Thank you, Southern Mama, for the super sticker. I really appreciate you. When y'all were minus in the Sea Org, were you paid anything at all? I know the adults only got $47 a week, but did you guys get that too? Thank you, Danny, for your question. The answer is yes, because we were being made to become, again, just like adults. So we all had jobs. They called them post. That's your post. So even though I was 15, I was expected to make these people $100,000 a week. Imagine what type of 15-year-old makes a conglomerate, a corporate conglomerate, mind you, because Scientology is nothing but a corporate shell. It's all corporation, 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 ecclesiastical of ecclesiastical. And meanwhile, why were children being given the targets to make these people $100,000 per week? Or else we were washing dishes, or else we were literally being sent to wash a trash can with a toothbrush and really like clean the maggots off of the trash cans. So we got paid, and that's why the IRS is up to their neck and ears in being complicit. Imagine that my tax records show what I was being paid as an underage child inside the Scientology prison program, stuck with a PDF file for 2 years. Imagine all of that info is available, and yet the IRS thinks that it's all great, you know, because this is such a democracy where people can go and do whatever in the hell they want to do to a child and watch us not enforce any of the laws that are already in the book. Was it put on an account, or were you given? It wasn't put on an account. We were given that in little envelopes where they literally said they would take our taxes out, mind you, out of the $47 if you even got paid that. You know, because they actually start you when you're in the EPF, you guys, you get, I think, like, EPF is when they begin you. So then you only get paid, I think, like a quarter pay. So instead of getting paid the $47, you're getting the $11 or something like that. And they take taxes out of that. And then you go to this thing they call the product one, the FRU, Flag Readiness Unit. And then you're being an expediter. And then you get paid $37. And then when you complete all these other courses, then you get promoted to the $47. So there's always, I mean, $47 is what all of these adults got paid after they did all these courses. But so many kids would not even be able to complete the courses. So they would get stuck getting paid $37 or $11. So it's really, really bad. Auntie Jan, so very proud that we survivors have taken our straws back so they can no longer suck the life out of us. Thank you, Auntie Jan. That's exactly right. Our straws are back. Southern Mama. Other podcasters are really spreading the word. Jordan ran his podcast too yesterday. Great. I'm a never in, but a survivor nonetheless. Well, thank you, Auntie Jan. Yeah, well, you know, we're talking about how so many of us understand the problem to be just that, you guys, that it doesn't matter what you call it, Nickelodeon, this or that, the narcissistic abuse, the predatory practices, the behaviors of power dynamic imbalances can play out in a home with 4 people, 3 people, 2 people, or it can play out in a huge, gigantic hotel where it all got covered up as something else. So I really want to thank all of you guys for watching and continuing to open your eyes and open your hearts to advocate for the kids that are stuck today, still being abused. Still being abused with impunity, still being allowed by the US Congress to break all the platitude laws that they put in a book to not be enforced if you have $1 billion in the bank. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all extremely soon. Bye-bye.